Good afternoon and welcome. Sorry, I'm just trying to let the sirens go by because, of course, as soon as we start. But welcome. My name is Melissa Cording, and I am the Development Director here at Bridge Over Troubled Waters. And I'm really grateful that you could join us today for what is a very special conversation and event. But you're not here to listen to me. You're here to listen to the three individuals who are hopefully spotlit on your screen. And I'm going to pass it over first to Jamie to introduce herself and the rest of everyone who's here today and get us started in our conversation. We will have an opportunity for questions toward the end of the conversation, and I very much encourage you to ask them. I'll be coming back to moderate at that point, and you can either put them in the chat and raise your hand, and hopefully we'll be able to get everyone's questions answered. So again, thank you for being here, and I look forward to having a robust conversation. Jamie?
Awesome. Thank you, Melissa. So I'm Jamie Pimentel. I'm the Development Systems and Data Administrator in the Development Department at Bridge. I was also formerly a resident at our Transitional Living Program over in Brighton. And that's me. Bruce?
Hi, I'm Bruce Neri. I am a current resident at the Liberty House, and I also work for Bridge as an administrative assistant.
Hi, my name is Chris Reed. I'm a social worker at Bridge Over Troubled Waters and currently working at the Liberty House.
Awesome. So this month, as you all probably know, because you signed up for this event, is National Homeless Youth Awareness Month. And so being homeless, experiencing homelessness at such a young age can be really isolating and can make a lot of people feel like they're alone. And that's why it's so important to be a part of a community. And that's why Bridge tries so hard and does a great job at building that community for youth experiencing homelessness, so they don't feel as isolated and they can really grow and be successful. So to kind of kick off this conversation, I wanted to ask you, Chris, why community is so important and what the goal of having such a community-based community building approach in programs, what the goal is.
Yeah, good question. And thanks, Jamie, for hosting and welcome everybody. Appreciate y'all joining. You know, in kind of acknowledging youth homelessness this month and the importance of community, the program I work in, Liberty House, the goal of Liberty House is to create a community experience for people to come together. And, you know, homelessness has a lot of stigmatizing experiences, but also creates a sense, a literal sense also of isolation, you know, lack of opportunities. And so part of a community is to, you know, reduce and eliminate isolation, open up opportunities, and, you know, bring people from a place of kind of, you know, survival mode to where they can sit down and kind of utilize the support of a community as they need to go from surviving to kind of growing, you know. And so, yeah, it's really important to know that there are those places for people to have safe space in community.
Yeah, and I think Bridge definitely does a really great job at incorporating that community aspect. As I remember, I have a couple examples that I'll probably talk throughout. But the first one would be at the, I also used to live at the TOP house, Transitional Living House. And all of the employees, case managers, they always had this focus on, you know, making the little things count. So like, for example, well, things that seem little, but they're actually really big. For example, like birthdays, like someone might not, because they've been in this situation of surviving, they might not really care about, oh, it's just another year, or, you know, I'm going by. But the bridge and its employees, you know, made it something really special. They would make a cake. They would make sure that all the residents got together for that night to have some food and just have a nice time. Try and they help them forget about the situation they're in and really think about those important things that sometimes not they don't always get to think about.
I think that's really true in a lot of ways. And that, like you said, Bruce, there's a lot of little things that really aren't that little. And I mean, especially when you have a lot of little things and you put them all together, it ends up being a really big part of life. And especially for youth, Bridge serves youth ages 14 to 24. And so that's a really important time of your life, especially to be able to celebrate a birthday or just acknowledge your birthday. You don't have to celebrate it, to be able to feel a part of a community, to feel supported. I know when I was living in the transitional living program, when I moved in, I smoked cigarettes. And, in the back of my head, I always wanted to quit, but it was never a priority. I was focused on work. I was focused on this. I was focused on kind of the big things, not the little things. But then when I was at the TLP house, for starters, I was able to have like a regular PCP, like a doctor, who was able to connect me to the resources to quit smoking. And all of the case managers, because it's a 24/7 staffed, they all knew I was trying to quit smoking. So I got those supportive, like, how many days has it been, Jamie? How are you doing? Just kind of that support to like encourage me. And I remember my case manager, like, she gave me a card like at a month. And I was like, you gave me a card for this? Like, and it's just those things that really make it feel like you're not alone. That I think for a lot of people that are experiencing homelessness, you can feel like you're alone because you and many times probably won't be telling your coworkers, posting it on social media, telling your teachers, and having that big part of your life kind of hidden is not a great feeling. And Bridge creates a space where, like Bruce mentioned, and Chris mentioned, like there are no like secrets in that sense. And that, I mean, takes a big weight off your shoulders, and lets you be able to think of other things like quitting smoking, because I have time for that now, or the capacity.
Yeah, I think they let you focus on the bigger picture. Because like when I first moved into the transitional living program back, how many years ago, maybe 6, 7, I don't know. I was still a minor. I was probably 16, 17. And my main focus at the time was just like, just getting by, maybe finding a job, to be able to afford my own apartment. And that was only like my only goal. I wasn't really thinking on a bigger picture of, going to college, or even, for instance, like finishing college. And I remember my case manager at the time, Adeline, she did a really great job at making me see that it doesn't just stop at getting housing, because a lot of other programs might look at it that way. Like the focus will be of you moving from homelessness into living on your own. But they don't look at all the other aspects that can be, communicating with others, having these relationships with others, and also, working and your education. So eventually you don't end up in the same place, right? So like you can stand up for yourself and won't be able to, so you don't go back to these kind of situations, right? And again, I really never thought about going to college, and Adeline, my case manager, Bridge, She was pushing me to go to Bunker Hill, eventually ended up going to Bunker Hill, got my associates there. And I thought, well, I did what I had to. This is like kind of my own really requirement. It'll stop there, right? But she kept pushing me to strive for even bigger things, that to apply to Boston University and eventually get in and also graduate from there, which was never like, it never even crossed my head. Like, it wasn't really like, oh, I'm gonna go to a private institution and get a degree from there. So yeah, they do a great job at big things and focusing, changing your perspective of life to really strive for being the best person you can be.
Yeah, I think that because youth don't have to worry about where am I going to sleep? What am I going to eat? Don't have to worry about where they're going to store their belongings. I mean, if you're experiencing homelessness, sometimes you are sleeping outside or like couch surfing with friends. And storage is an important thing that I don't think a lot of people think about. And I think so when I lived at the TLP, with COVID regulations, and I got a remodel since then. I don't know 100% how it's set up now, but it was set up kind of like a roommate situation. So you also were in like a roommate community, like a little mini community within the Bridge community. And it helped build soft skills, like how to deal with a roommate that never does their dishes, how to delegate house chores, how to cook a community meal. I mean, every week a different person would cook a meal for everybody, and everyone would sit down and eat it together. And learning those skills is really important because a lot of people will move on to live with roommates or even to live with a partner, one other person. I mean, knowing how and learning how to go from, oh, I need to worry about my roommates and not just me. I need to worry about us as a community, as kind of like collectively, are hard skills when for so long you've only really had to worry about you. And so Bridge, I think through a lot of their programs, especially their residential programs, really instills that community kind of holistic outlook. That's important for life, and it's a soft skill for work, even for school. You have to worry about a community kitchen at work, at school, sharing books. I mean, it's a big, again, kind of going back to, it sounds like a little thing, but it's really not.
Yeah, I mean, if I could jump in too, I love going down memory lane. It's great to hear Jamie and Bruce kind of reflect on a lot of these pieces, and this notion that when people transition from housing instability, and vulnerability to stable housing, but also transformative programmatic pieces. This is in Housing First initiatives. So there is a component to a lot of the programs that we're discussing, but Bridge has other Housing First initiatives. But in Liberty House, this talking with people who come in and maybe they work 2 jobs, and discussing with them this notion of maybe they don't need to work 2 jobs right now. Maybe they can just work 1 job. It's a real big conversation that I have with lots of people, this notion of you don't have to work 65 hours a week. Like, let's talk about just doing 40 right now and see if we can, if we can be okay with that concept, and knowing that people are there to have those conversations and reflect on that piece. And knowing that there's time for that piece, that vulnerability piece where people get to decide, do I want to have this conversation right now or not? I don't know if I feel like talking about my housing instability, or my feeling vulnerable right now. I just want to talk about nothing, right? Or just knowing that somebody's there to notice, that to have a conversation about, we have a place here for you, and it is a stable place, and then working on taking the conversation from there.
Yeah, I think that's part of what makes Bridge so special. And I know Chris, Bruce, we've all talked about this a lot. Being a part of something, being a part of a community empowers people. It gives people the opportunity to reach for higher education, to go further, to quit smoking, to focus on not just surviving, which is a huge step. It's a huge concept. And Bridge gives youth the space to think bigger.